afternoon. This is Vicinity 95.3 FM, Ikejile, Ijesha. The time is 12 o'clock. I am Oluwafunke, Israel, with Global News. First headlines. Yoruba group seeks Southwest Security Summit over rising insecurity. An opposition in DR Congo rejects referendum law. Saudi Arabia, United States joint airstrikes hit Iran-backed militias in Iraq. Now the news in full. Prominent Yoruba leaders and professionals under the Omo Oduduwa Collective have called for an emergency Southwest Security Summit over rising insecurity across the region. In an open letter released today, Thursday, the group warned that the increase in kidnappings, violent attacks, criminal activities, and the occupation of forests by armed groups pose a serious threat to lives and livelihoods in Yoruba land. The letter, signed by convener Professor Akinyemi Onigbinde, former presidential advisor Babafemi Ojudu, human rights lawyer Dele Farotimi, and other notable figures urged Southwest governors, traditional rulers, lawmakers, security agencies, and religious leaders to adopt a united response. The group said the worsening insecurity has forced farmers off their land, disrupted businesses and education, and left many communities living in fear. It also warned that continued inaction could further weaken public confidence in government and democratic institutions. The Speaker of Ondo State House of Assembly, Right Honorable Olamide Oladiji, says the move by 21 lawmakers to remove him is politically motivated and linked to the 2027 general elections. The lawmakers accused the Speaker of financial misconduct, about 44 million naira approving an Ondo State Oil Producing Areas Development Commission or SAPADEC budget resolution without the Assembly's approval, and presiding over only 4 plenary sittings in the past 70 months. They have vowed not to resume plenary until he resigns, despite intervention efforts by Governor Loki Ayedatiwa and leaders of the All Progressives Congress in the state. However, Speaker Oladiji says the dispute has been handled through internal party mechanisms and is confident it will be resolved. However, the House Committee and Information Chairman and Assembly spokesperson, Honorable Latunji Ifapiyi, dismissed the Speaker's claims, insisting the lawmakers' action is based on alleged misconduct and abuse of office. It says the aggrieved lawmakers remain committed to ensuring the Speaker either resigns or is impeached. Away from Nigeria, opposition parties in the Democratic Republic of Congo have condemned a constitutional court ruling that approved a referendum law that could pave the way for President Felix Tshisekedi to seek a third term in office. At a press conference in Kinshasa, Secretary General of Together for the Republic, Diodene Bolenge said the ruling undermines the constitutional order and could threaten the country's unity. President Tshisekedi, who took office in 2019, is 72nd and final 5-year term under the current constitution, which ends in 2028. Announcing the decision, Constitutional Court President Diodene Kamuleta Badibanga said the proposed law is consistent with the Constitution. However, the court raised concerns about provisions that would allow the president to call a referendum on any issue considered to be of fundamental national importance. No fewer than 5 Kenyan security personnel have been killed while on patrol near the Somalia border in Mandera County by the armed group Al-Shabaab. According to Kenya police reports, a special operations group patrol and elite police counter-terrorism units came under fire near Wantam Dam, about 6 kilometers 4 miles from Lafin police station shortly after midday. Kenya police said the attack occurred just before a bomb destroyed a vehicle sent to reinforce the targeted patrol. Al-Shabaab has claimed responsibility, attributing the operation to its armed wing. With the attack was among the deadliest in a string of recent attacks along the same stretch of Mandera in northeastern Kenya in recent weeks. underscoring the group's intent to continue targeting the region. A regional branch of the Islamic State group has claimed responsibility for the killing of a Taliban official in northeastern Afghanistan. Zahi-ullah Amir, head of the Information and Culture Department in Badakhshan province and a nephew of Ahmad province governor Amanuddin Mashar, was shot dead while traveling to the province capital, Faisalabad. The Islamic State Coalition group claimed the attack, while the Taliban authorities say one suspected attacker was killed and another arrested following the incident, despite Taliban promises to improve security since returning to power in 2021. Attacks by the Islamic State group have continued with previous attacks in Kabul, targeting senior Taliban officials and civilians. Saudi Arabia and the United States of America have carried out joint strikes against Iran-backed militias in Iraq, marking a potential escalation in tensions across the Middle East. The U.S. military says the strikes targeted logistics and weapons sites used by Iran-allied groups accused of launching drone attacks on U.S. forces and Saudi oil facilities. Iraq's Popular Mobilization Forces say at least 20 of their members were killed, and 4 members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps also died. The strikes followed Iranian missile attacks on U.S. positions in the region, which Tehran says were in retaliation for American aggression. Iran claims its naval forces targeted 3 oil tankers in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran Foreign Ministry, in a statement released on Thursday, said the strikes violated Iraq's sovereignty and territorial integrity and breached the United Nations Charter. The development raised fresh concerns over a widening regional conflict. British Prime Minister Andy Bonham has declined to speak on supporting a fresh attempt to legalize assisted dying, saying reform of the UK social care system should come first. Speaking at the London Care Association, Bonham relaunched his campaign for a national care service for the elderly and vulnerable. A bill to legalize assisted dying failed in Parliament in April after stalling in the House of Lords. Supporters plan to try again when Parliament returns in September. Lawmaker Labour MP Lauren Edwards will introduce the terminal third adult end-of-life bill as a private member's bill, allowing members of Parliament to vote according to their conscience rather than party policy. The proposed legislation would allow terminally ill adults in England and Wales with less than 6 months to live to apply for an assisted death subject to approval by 2 doctors and an expert panel. A bit of sports. The Federation of International Football Association President Gianni Infantino says plans to sell stakes in a new company to manage the World Cup are only a proposal, not an obligation. FIFA recently announced plans to create a $20 billion subsidiary to oversee the World Cup and other tournaments, with up to 20% of the company to be offered to external investors. The proposal has drawn criticism from several regional football confederations, saying they were not consulted. Infantino defended the move, saying it is the next step in strengthening football's commercial growth. He also assured fans that FIFA will remain fully in charge of the sport and that football's governance will not be influenced by outside investors. Ten Global News, a recap of the major stories. Yoruba group seeks Southwest Security Summit over rising insecurity in the region. I told you that the Democratic Republic of Congo opposition says referendum law could clear path for a President Tshisekedi's third term. And lastly, you heard Saudi Arabia and the United States carried out joint airstrikes against Iran-backed militias in Iraq. And that was Global News. It was edited by Oluwafunke. I am Oluwafunke, Israel. Many thanks for listening. Please stay tuned for news nationwide at 6 o'clock. Good afternoon.